I'm always asked why Equality Texas exists, and I have to tell my own major life stories. The Commissioner of Health gave a speech where he said that he was going to add AIDS to the list of quarantinable diseases, and in so doing, scared the bejesus out of every gay man in Texas. So I go into Senator Mosey and I said, somebody needs to go to the Board of Health and organize the hearing on this quarantine proposal. And Oscar Mosey did that fateful thing that he always did, of pulling his glasses down on his nose, looking over the end of it, taking a swig of scotch, and said, young man, when somebody ought to do something, that somebody's you.
We're just like you. We live our normal lives. We want to be able to get married. We want to be able to be in the hospital room when my spouse is sick or dying. And we want to have the same rights as everyone else.
Any movement in the United States for civil rights has required that you persuade the majority of other folks to support you or not to stop you. You have to convince other people, and you can't convince other people unless you're willing to stand up for yourself.
We went into the legislature in, let's just say, the most hostile of environments with HIV issues happening. Within the first session, our small band of activists got the first $3 million for HIV education and services.
Equality Texas has been very successful operating in a defensive posture, and that goes back decades, both from in terms of initial attempts to legislate against marriage equality, to targeting LGBTQ people. That pivot is only possible by doing the public education work that's necessary in order to change people's hearts and minds. Our Transvisible program was the first program in the country that brought transgender children and their families to the forefront in order to explain the discrimination that was happening and what these families and their kids were facing.
This is the face of a transgender child in Texas. And I want you to look at this little girl, my little girl.
Our love can be as beautiful as anyone else's love. And I think one of the things that was wonderful was to see when people would move from just being politically supportive to just accepting your relationship without question.
As Equality Texas hits this milestone of 30 years, I look back on a lot of things. How public opinion has changed. It's just a different world.
We've had a lot of tenacious people over the last 30 years that have fought the fight. But we've had a lot of very aggressive CEOs, Texans who have contributed to the cause. Thousands of Texans who say, enough is enough. I'm going to stand up for my rights. I'm going to tell my story.
It's this commitment to considering what the most effective methods might be, what the most empathetic and relatable stories might be, and then to share those stories as widely as possible so people can see, you know, the amazing LGBTQ people that live in Texas that are impacted by the work that the organization does.
Every day of the world, there's a young gay man or a young lesbian or a young transgender kid who is fighting the same battles in a world that defines everything through a heterosexual lens. They are trying to figure out how they fit in, and if they live their lives openly and truly, whether they will be accepted by their family and friends.
The issues can change. The burning example of oppression can change. But the need for something like the lobby is continuous.
What doesn't change is that rights are never secured. They are defended. You have to win them through the legislature, through the courts, through day-to-day action, and then you have to protect them.